There is a black smoke over Azovstal. The Russian occupiers continue to shell the plant from the sky and attempt to make a breakthrough with artillery and tanks. The Ukrainian defenders inside the plant are still without food and water. Among them are severely wounded.
With each day of combat, there are fewer fighters, but they bite into the concrete, burrow into the ground, become insane to endure all this hell. But again and again they rise to their full height and go to destroy the occupant.
The relatives of the Ukrainian defenders have once again called on the international community to save the fighters.
The situation is critical, but the military keeps doing the impossible, holding Azovstal. Now the whole world has to do the impossible for them. Save our children, I beg on behalf of all mothers.
The Ukrainian authorities offered Russia a way out of the situation to exchange severely wounded servicemen for Russian prisoners of war according to standard rules. However, there has been no response from the Kremlin yet. All those who are concerned will gather today for a rally under the United Nations office in Geneva to demand the release of the defenders of Mariupol. And the day before, the wives of Ukrainian officers of the Azov regiment met with Pope Francis at the Vatican. They handed him two letters. One of them was written by Metropolitan Onufry, head of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. He asked Putin to release the Azov servicemen. The second letter was written by the wives themselves. Meanwhile, the Russian occupiers announced the resumption of water supply in Mariupol today. In turn, the Ukrainian authorities stressed it is categorically impossible to drink the water. The amount of chlorine in the absence of technology, and taking into account the 2 months downtime of the system, can be fatal. The water can only be used for technical purposes. Petro Andrushenko, advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, said that the Russian occupiers are currently holding more than 3,000 Mariupol residents who have not passed the so-called filtration camps in penal colonies in temporarily uncontrolled Donetsk. According to him, people are being tortured. The Russian occupiers also torture the population of the occupied territories of Kherson and Mykolaiv regions.
The activists with a pro-Ukrainian position are tortured and shot if they refuse to cooperate. Exit from the territories under the Russian occupiers is blocked.
6 regions were attacked by the enemy in just one day. The Russian occupiers launched a missile strike against the Poltava district from the aircraft. Fortunately, there were no casualties. Zelenodolsk community in the Dnipropetrovsk region was shelled 3 times from Graz. There are damages. Air defense forces also managed to down a cruise missile over the Odesa region.
Our enemy is attempting to destroy our infrastructure to make it impossible for us to use it in the future, but the air defense units are always ready to defend the Odesa region against enemy attacks.
As a result of Russian shelling, a warehouse with ammonium nitrate was damaged in the Kramatorsk district. These photos show dangerous smoke rising into the sky. At the same time, local authorities claim there is no immediate threat to Slovyansk residents. However, they called for limiting the stay outdoors and tightly closing windows for at least 1 day. There was no calm in Severodonetsk either. The Russian invaders destroyed many of the residential buildings. Before the war, more than 102,000 people lived in the city.
New quarters suffered. A 10-story building was on fire. About 70% of the houses are damaged and 30% will be no longer livable.
The enemy launched 18 missile strikes on one of the villages in the Zaporizhzhia region. 60 houses were damaged, 1 person was killed and 3 were wounded. It was quiet in the city of Kharkiv, but the region was shelled. There were wounded and 1 person was killed. Russian occupiers also fired on a tractor that was working in the field. The driver had been severely wounded. The armed forces of Ukraine are currently having some success in the Kharkiv direction. They approached the borders of Russia in the past day and managed to liberate the village of Pitomnik.
Our favorite rubric we have captured. Watch. I'm incredibly happy for the Kharkiv direction that our glorious Ukrainian armed forces are pushing them over the border. We are waiting for reinforcements to come to us so that we also can push.
A Russian Ka-52 helicopter was also shot down in the Kharkiv region. Ukrainian forces have once again destroyed the enemy's pontoon crossing over the Siversky Donets River in Bilohorivka, the Luhansk region, with artillery. This village the military called another Chernobyivka. The most tense conditions are in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. The enemy is attempting to gain full control of the town of Rubizhne and launch an offensive in the direction of Lyman. Ukrainian defenders have already repulsed 5 enemy attacks there. In the Bakhmut direction, in order to prepare the offensive, the Russians are continuing artillery shelling of Ukraine's positions in the area of Svitlodarsk and Troitske. Combat operations continue near the borders with Dnipropetrovsk and Mykolaiv regions. In the Izum direction, the enemy has turned to defense and is conducting deterrence. Reported by Roman Smoler, Alexander Belov, UATV News.